Alright guys, what's up? Voodoo51292 here, and we do have time to go ahead and do the very first Let's Chat video for Dead Space 2. Just as I'm going to say before every single one of these videos, this video does contain spoilers. If you want a honest game review of the game without spoilers, be sure to go check out the video game review for Dead Space 2, which is not out yet. It will be out in a week or two. But this is for people who have either played the campaign or watched my campaign playthroughs. This does contain spoilers, so if you don't want the game ruined for you, stop watching now. Anyway, moving forward, Dead Space 2. Wow, this was some game. Much better than Dead Space 1, even though Dead Space 1 was extremely good. This game was even better. A better plot. Much more riveting, much better environments, much better atmosphere, I thought, and just overall a better game. They fixed a lot of the things that I didn't like about Dead Space 1, and they made it better. And I mean, this game was crazy. Let's just do a quick recap of the environments and the things that happen in the game. I mean, first you wake up on the Sprawl. They hit you right off the bat. It's crazy. You're running around, and it's kind of like the same thing as Dead Space 1. Narrow corridors. It's kind of like a medical area. And you run around and do some things in the Sprawl, and then, or in the initial part of the Sprawl, and then you have to go to the Unitology Church and Center, and you go around and do all kinds of stuff there. And then after that you get back into the Sprawl, and then you have like a little kindergarten area you have to go to, and then you're back in the Sprawl, and then you're up fixing the solar array, and then after all that's done, in Chapter 10, you actually go back to the Ishimura, which is unreal, and then it is like Dead Space 1 with rooms that you remember and recognize and everything else. And then after that you go down to mines. And then, after all that's finished, you finally go to Government Sector, which is this big, you know, bright white light kind of government area. And then finally you have the scene by where the marker is. So it's crazy. You're going everywhere. There's such a variety of environments in the game. It's really a lot of fun. And let's talk about, I want to talk about the plot of the game a little bit, kind of some of the things that happen. I was kind of confused at the end of the game, but I've done a little bit of research, and I kind of figured out what's going on. So basically, Isaac and Stross were part of a 5-patient experiment where these people on the Sprawl were trying to get the codes and blueprints to how to build a marker out of their minds. They've been exposed to a marker, the one on Aegis 7, and they have these codes and stuff stored in their mind from having access to the marker that they're trying to get to. And you know, when you're playing through the game, Stross is talking about the steps and crawling into a machine and doing all this other stuff, and you're like, what are you talking about? You know, you're wondering, what is it? This guy's crazy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And then, you know, towards the end of the game, we find out that all the steps are right. I mean, you get into this machine, and you know, you get locked in, and they stick a needle in your eye. And apparently, I thought at the time it made you blind if you watch my campaign play, but apparently not, because they've been doing this to these patients for a long time. Something that's really interesting that I didn't notice until I went back and watched some of my videos and picked up on it. In the very beginning, when you first see the hologram with Stross, you'll notice that the doctor says, you know, the eye is looking much better today, and he says, Stross says it still hurts. And that's what he's talking about. He's talking about what the game calls the eye poke machine. Not real inventive, but that's what the trophy called it anyway. So that's what he's talking about. And it's really cool because at the time you kind of blow it off and you don't know what they're talking about. But once you figure out what happens, you know, what's actually going on, it's really cool because that's what they're talking about. And basically, when that needle goes in the eye, it accesses the part of the brain where all the marker codes and stuff are stored. And that's what they were talking about with the sessions. That's what they do. They put them in the machine, they get poked in the eye with the needle, and it accesses all the blueprints and stuff stored in their minds. And basically they used all that to build this giant marker. Which at the end, you know, you're confronted by the apparition of Nicole, who seems friendly after you kind of reconciled why she's still there, and you don't want to let her go, and she seems like a friendly apparition now, but she turns on you and tries to kill you, and there's this scene, the final scene, when you go into his mind, and it almost looks like what you're doing, what it's symbolic of, is when you're shooting that marker, or what the marker turns into when you're shooting Nicole, it almost looks like you're destroying that part of your brain, or the codes and all that stored inside your brain that the marker's putting there. Because it kind of looks like a nerve ending and stuff you're shooting at, and the main menu is filled with nerves and stuff. So that's what it really seems to be symbolizing at the end of the game, is that you're actually, in your own mind, you're having this giant internal conflict in your own mind. You're taking control and killing those the marker's influence on your mind. You're killing that section of your brain that has all the marker garbage and stuff in it. And so and you know, the ending of the game is cool because it's a throwback to Dead Space 1. When you look to your side and the apparition Nicole jumps at you, you turn to the side and it's just Ellie saying what, and it's kind of funny, but at the same time it's symbolic of saying, okay, Isaac has, you know, he's destroyed those apparitions, that influence on his mind. It's destroyed now. So I thought that was really a cool explanation and way to end the game. And of course you're expecting many more answers, and you don't get them at the end of Dead Space 2, because if anything, this game is setting up for a trilogy, to be sure. I've never seen a game set up more for a trilogy than this one is. You know, and there's a lot of questions we still have to ask. We've destroyed 2 markers thus far, but they've both been man-made. The one on Aegis 7 we found out was actually man-made. We were led to believe it was the original, the only one, and when we destroy it we find out it's actually a man-made marker. It's not the real one. And then we've destroyed the one on the Sprawl, which was also man-made. So the big question, where is the real marker? Who has it? What happened to it? Another question is basically just what's going on. I mean, what are the point of all these markers? Why is everyone trying to build them? And exactly what is convergence? I mean, it seems like the converting of all humans to necromorphs, but you know, for what purpose, and how is that going to be done, and why would that be done? And at the end of the game, we find 2 things. A text log toward the end of the game that says somebody named the Overseer, who is above Tideman. And then, if you watch my campaign playthrough, you'll see that after the credits, there's an audio clip where it's a guy, and he seems to be talking to this Overseer and says, you know, the Sprawl's completely destroyed, it's wiped out, and the voice of the presumed Overseer says, well, the other 12 will have to pick up the pieces. Now, to me, that means that there's at least 12 other markers, and this guy is in charge of all of these planet-cracking ships and all of these operations that's going on, and the building of all these markers. He seems to be the guy in control of it, and we're led to believe it's a company called EarthGov. And basically, that sounds like to me that maybe Earth is unified under one government or something in the future. So that's how you know it's fiction. And if that's the case, and it seems like this Overseer guy may be the leader of EarthGov, and they're the ones that that are producing all the new markers, and perhaps they have the real one. And of course, that would lead you to believe, well, it's possible that the 3rd game and possibly the ending of the series could be on Earth, if that's the case. So, you know, if you put things one after the other, it might just be that EarthGov has the real marker, and you as Isaac, now possibly a sane Isaac, has to go down to Earth and completely wipe out the original marker, which may wipe out all the other ones. Who knows? That would be a pretty cool 3rd game. You know, who knows if that's what's going to happen, but it could happen. So, you know, there's a lot of questions unanswered, and it seems like it's really setting up to answer all the questions and be definitive at the end of in the 3rd game. I really don't see them ending the series now. There's too many questions left unanswered, and after that last audio log, or that last soundbite after the credits, they're 99% sure there has to be a 3rd game, which I will be very stoked for and very excited to play. Yeah, I thought it was a riveting plot. I thought we were going to find out more at the end than we actually found out, but we did kind of find out, wrapping up all the plot points within the game itself, but not really as the big picture, which is why it seems like there's going to be a 3rd one to wrap up the big picture. So you know, it was a lot of fun. The surprise of going back to the Ishimura was great. I thought they handled it very well. You know, you didn't stay on it too long, and you didn't you know, stay on it too short. It was well handled. The atmosphere was way better. People were complaining about, oh, it's not as scary as Dead Space 1 and all this other stuff. Listen, Dead Space 1 was a great game. It was horrifying, and I loved the game. The problem with Dead Space 1 was that when I was playing the game, it was such a heavy game. So the atmosphere was so heavy and burdensome that I felt like I couldn't play the game for more than an hour at a time, or I'd have to stop playing. Because you're so paranoid, always looking behind you. The atmosphere is ridiculously heavy in that game. In this game, one, from having experience from the first game, and two, because I wouldn't say they lightened it up. I don't exactly know what they did, to be quite honest, but the atmosphere is better in this game. This is another game that's still scary, but you can still sit down and play the game for, you know, hours and hours and hours on end, and not feel like you have to stop because you're too scared, or the atmosphere is too much. So I think it actually is better. People are complaining about it. You know, I don't have any complaints about it at all. I think it was well done. You know, just the little things they fixed, like eliminating the map and being able to scroll through on your actual marker on the ground. You're able to scroll through to the save station, the bench, the store, is another great improvement. The fact that, you know, you can, in Zero Gravity, you don't have to jump from wall to wall. You have free flight. You just take off and you can go wherever you want, and there's an orient to ground button, so you never get topsy-turvy and everything else. Is a great addition. They took out all the little insignificant parts, like shooting asteroids, like the first game, which was the worst part of the game. They took those kind of things out. There's little to no backtracking in the game. You're not an errand boy. You're just trying to get out of where you are. You're just playing through the game and constantly progressing. It doesn't feel like you keep regressing and really not making any progress. They fixed that. They made the weapons more useful and better. I found myself using all kinds of weapons in this game, whereas in the first game I just used the plasma cutter, the pulse rifle sometimes. But in this game I used a bunch of different ones. The plasma cutter, the Ripper, pulse rifle, the Seeker, all kinds of stuff. I found myself having to use stasis on enemies. And it was more of them creating enemies that the guns are better against than it was them improving the guns. Although they did improve the guns, but they improved it by making enemies that certain guns work better with, and you have to use stasis on certain ones and stuff like that. So basically all the beefs I had, if you watch my Dead Space 1 review, all the beefs and stuff I had with the Dead Space 1, they basically fixed in Dead Space 2. So I really have no complaints about it. I'm very excited to see how this whole plot is going to wrap up. You know, so I think it was a great game. I just need to play Extraction now, so I can go ahead and make my full game review of it. But that's basically it for the very first episode of the Let's Chat series for Dead Space 2. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope if you were confused about any of it, some of what I said kind of made things a little bit clearer, or put some questions in your own head. So if you have any alternate theories about what's going on, or you have any questions or any new questions that I didn't address that you think would be good to mention, please feel free to comment on the video, and or you know, message me or something, your comments, your concerns, anything that you want to remark about the game. I'd be very interested in hearing what everybody else's opinion is of the game, and anybody else's questions about the plot or anything like that. So thank you guys for checking it out. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for more Let's Chat as I play games throughout the year. See you guys later.